Hi, my name is Yunel Mendoza, and today I'm going to be talking about the article Eating Christmas in the Kalahari by Richard Porcher Lee. The article describes Lee's experience spending Christmas with the Juhuansi people in the Kalahari Desert and shows how cultural worldview affects how people understand behavior, values, and meaning. The main idea of the article is that cultural actions can easily be misunderstood when people view them only through their own cultural lens. In the story, Lee buys a large ox as a Christmas gift for the Juhuansi, expecting them to be happy and impressed. Instead, they joke about the ox, criticize it, and seem very unimpressed. At first, this reaction upsets and confuses Lee. Later, he learns that this response is actually a cultural tradition meant to prevent arrogance and maintain equality within their group. This article clearly shows how worldview impacts the interpretation of cultural meaning. From Lee's point of view, giving a large gift, especially on Christmas, is a way to show generosity and kindness, and it's usually met with a lot of gratitude. However, the Juhuansi have a different worldview that values humility and group balance. In their culture, praising a gift or the person who gave it could make someone feel superior, which they try to avoid. Because of these differences, the same situation is understood in completely different ways. One example of ethnocentrism in the article is Lee's initial assumption that his way of celebrating Christmas was normal or expected. He assumed the Juhuansi would react the same way people from his culture would. When they didn't, he interpreted their behavior as rude rather than cultural. This shows how his worldview shaped his perception before he took the time to understand theirs. The story also challenges the idea that one culture's values are the best or most natural. The Juhuansi tradition of insulting the meat may seem negative to outsiders, but it actually plays on an important role in keeping the community equal and cooperative. This shows that cultural practices may look strange from the outside, but they often make sense within their own cultural context. In my own culture, a common norm is making a big deal out of birthdays with gifts, attention, and celebrations. To us, this shows care and appreciation. However, someone from a culture that values modesty might see this as very uncomfortable or unnecessary. Based on their worldview, they might think too much attention puts too much focus on one person, even though that isn't the intention. A best practice for communicating across cultures is to avoid making quick judgments and instead ask questions and stay open-minded. In the article, once Lee stopped taking the Juhuansi's reactions personally and learned the meaning behind them, he was able to understand their behavior, and this shows that good intercultural communication depends on listening and being very willing to see things from another perspective. I've seen a similar misunderstanding happen around food. In some families, refusing food can be seen as rude, while in others, it's a sign of politeness. I once saw someone get offended when a guest declined seconds, even though the guest thought they were being respectful. This is similar to the article because both situations involve people interpreting actions based on their own worldview rather than understanding the other person's perspective. Overall, the biggest lesson I took from eating Christmas in the Kalahari is that worldview strongly shapes how we see and judge others. The article shows how easily misunderstandings can happen when people assume that their values are universal or that their values are the only ones that count. It reminds us that being open, curious, and respectful is essential for effective intercultural communication. Thank you very much.